Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this emergency broadcast on the Iran war, now dragging into its brutal ninth day as of March 7th, 2026. I'm your anchor for this unfolding nightmare. Tonight's headlines will shock you. Preliminary U.S. investigations point to American munitions obliterating an Iranian primary school, slaughtering over 160 souls, including dozens of innocent children, in what Human Rights Watch brands a potential war crime. The UK Ministry of Defense fires a stark warning. American operations from British bases are putting British lives at risk amid relentless missile fire. In a dramatic pivot, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian slams the door on President Trump's unconditional surrender demand, but vows Iran will no longer attack neighboring countries or launch missiles unless provoked, a de-escalatory signal after apologies to Gulf states. The death toll, catastrophic, at least 940 to 132 killed in Iran alone from U.S. and Israeli strikes, 11 in Israel from Iranian retaliation, 217 in Lebanon from counterstrikes, and hundreds more rippling across the Middle East. Thousands of Americans remain stranded in the war zone, begging for evacuation as Iran blacks out its internet for a full week, plunging 89 million people into digital darkness. From Sri Lanka's halted shipping lanes to Europe's spiking energy bills, this conflict's tentacles stretch worldwide. Strap in, we're breaking it all down, minute by minute, with maps, footage, and expert analysis. This is your Frontline update. Let's dive in. Picture this. Since Operation Epic Fury kicked off on February 28th, a U.S.-Israel juggernaut has pummeled Iran with over 3,000 precision strikes. Missile launchers, 60% destroyed. Air defenses, 80% neutralized. Naval assets, 43 Iranian vessels sent to the seabed. Today, March 7th, the onslaught continued unabated. Fresh barrages hammered Tehran and Isfahan, power grids flickering, Mehrabad Airport, and a graveyard for 16 Quds Force aircraft. The USS George H.W. Bush, third carrier in theater, steams into the Gulf, flanked by destroyers ready to swat any Iranian drone swarm. Iran's fight back, fierce but faltering. Ballistic missiles rained on Israel, 11 dead, cities scarred. Hezbollah tunnels in Lebanon took 217 lives in Israeli ripostes. Gulf states like UAE and Qatar endured salvos, disrupting the Strait of Hormuz. 90% of shipping halted, oil prices vaulting past $150 a barrel. But here's the pivot. Post the shocking assassination of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, confirmed by U.S. intel, Iran's command chain phrase. President Pezeshkian, stepping into the void, issued that apology to neighbors today. No more strikes unless attacked from their soil. It's a commander-less pause, proxies like Hezbollah drawing Lebanese PM condemnation as illegal militias. Enter the British angle, escalating tensions. UK PM Keir Starmer greenlit U.S. access to RAF bases, think Gloucestershire, Cyprus, Diego Garcia, for defensive intercepts against Iranian missiles arsing region-wide. But the Ministry of Defense isn't mincing words. U.S. actions to prevent Iran firing missiles are putting British lives at risk, with 200,000 UK expats in the crosshairs. British Typhoons patrol Jordan, Qatar, Cyprus skies, Merlin helicopters inbound for evac support. Parliament seethes, 58% public opposition in polls. Is this NATO solidarity or suicide? On screen now, strike heat maps pulsing red over Iran, carrier strike group animations, Pezeshkian's defiant address clips. The math is merciless. U.S. air superiority reigns, but Iran's 1,000 remaining missiles loom as wild cards. Now, the story that's ripping hearts out worldwide, the Shajar-e-Tayyeba primary school in Minab, southern Iran. February 28th, a thunderous blast levels the building mid-class. Iranian officials tally 170-plus dead, mostly children aged 6 to 12. Photos of tiny sneakers amid debris, flood blacked-out smuggled feeds. U.S. investigators, two sources familiar with preliminary findings, deliver the gut punch. Highly likely an American munition caused it. The target? adjacent IRGC naval base housing anti-ship missiles. Pentagon spokesman Pete Hegseth, "We never target civilians, full probe underway." Secretary Rubio echoes, "No intent to hit kids." Yet evidence mounts. Munition fragments match U.S. stockpiles. Strike patterns align with F-35 sorties. Human Rights Watch drops the hammer today. Unlawful attack, investigate as war crime. Ballistic experts note the school's proximity, 500 meters, as collateral damning. Iran screams genocide. State media claims 150 students vaporized. Unverified, but the optics? Toxic for U.S.-UK coalitions. This atop 940,332 Iranian fatalities across 130-plus cities per Red Crescent and state tallies. U.S. losses, 6 servicemen. Halliburton rigs in Basra, torched by Iranian drones. Pause for the human angle. Imagine parents clawing rubble, wails piercing the night. My little Fatima gone in seconds. Satellite overlays confirm the blast radius engulfed classrooms. Will this probe do in days, halt strikes, or ignite fury? Visuals rolling, before-after imagery, HRW graphics, anonymous U.S. official quotes. This isn't abstract. It's a tragedy demanding answers. The body count doesn't lie. 1 to 332 plus in Iran, 11 Israel, 217 Lebanon, hundreds Gulf-wide. A regional slaughterhouse. Worse, 4,000 plus Americans marooned, expats, tourists, contractors from Dubai to Doha. Trump's team faces fire. Slow evacs leaving citizens to die per families. Iran's Gulf strikes severed lifelines. C-17s ferry out hundreds, but thousands plead on sat phones. Iran's innards pitch black. National internet blackout imposed by regime since day 1, now week 2 per net blocks. 89 million offline, no news, no family calls, no aid coordination. GPS jammed, Starlink throttled 30-80% by electronic warfare. Protests brew in shadows, 2026 blackout echoes 2019, but war amps desperation. Far afield, Sri Lanka ports idle. Hormuz choke halts 20% global oil. Europe shivers, gas futures plus 40%. Blackouts loom Berlin to Bilbao. Pakistan, your region. Refugee floods, rice prices doubling. 200K Brits imperiled. Starmer deploys frigates. Charts up, death toll timeline spiking, blackout coverage maps 90% nationwide, stranded American heat map. This war is not contained, it's a contagion. Ladies and gentlemen, let's pull back from the battlefield smoke and peer into the diplomatic chessboard where words are weapons and handshakes hang by threads. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian absolutely steals the show in today's address from a fortified bunker in Tehran. His voice steady, eyes blazing as he dismantles President Trump's ultimatum. "Unconditional surrender," he thunders, "take that imperialist wish to your graves." It's a line echoing through smuggled audio clips, rallying hardliners while signaling to the world that Iran won't crumble. User provided. But here's the masterstroke olive branch. Pezeshkian vows Iran will no longer attack neighboring countries or launch missiles unless an attack on our soil originates from those countries. No more unprovoked barrages, a direct de-escalation after those wayward post-Khamenei missiles slammed UAE ports and Qatar airfields, killing dozens and spiking oil fears. Gulf states exhale. UAE's Sheikh Mohammed calls it a prudent step. While Qatar mediates discreetly, tensions easing as shipping lanes flicker back online. President Trump fires back from the White House Situation Room, ex-posts raging like digital artillery. No deal with terrorists until full capitulation. 151 million in arms to Israel locked and loaded. More coming. It's vintage Trump, unyielding, crowd-pleasing for his base amid plunging polls on the home front. Sources whisper Russia's slipping satellite intel to Tehran, mapping U.S. carrier positions, while China brokers quiet back channels in Geneva, urging a face-saving pause to avert oil Armageddon. Lebanon's prime minister piles on, demanding Hezbollah disband entirely. These Iranian proxies are illegal militias strangling our sovereignty, disarm or face consequences. UN sessions in Geneva? Ceasefire resolutions shouted down, vetoes looming from Washington. And in London, PM Keir Starmer's gamble, greenlighting U.S. ops from RAF bases, tanks his approval to 32% in snap polls, Labour MPs revolting, British blood for American bombs, enough. Visuals rolling now. Trump's X-feed exploding with fire emojis, Pezeshkian's podium fury captured in grainy drone footage, animated diplomatic hotlines pulsing red between D.C., Tehran, Moscow, and Beijing. Tehran's holding, but barely, cracks widening from leadership decapitation, economic freefall, and that suffocating internet blackout. Proxy whispers grow. Houthis in Yemen hint at restraint if Gulf talks hold. Iraqi militias stand down per Baghdad orders. Saudi Arabia plays coy, funneling intel to the U.S. while hosting Iranian envoys. Riyadh's balancing act could tip the scales. But let's zoom out. This isn't just rhetoric, it's a high-wire act. Pezeshkian's defiance buys time, buying domestic unity amid 2,300-plus dead. Yet each apology signals regime fragility. Trump's hardline boxes and moderates. One errant missile could reignite hell. Russia and China's shadow play. Pure opportunism, weakening NATO unity while cornering energy markets. Lebanon's Hezbollah crackdown, a domino that could topple Tehran's proxy empire. UN irrelevance underscores power's raw shift. Coalitions over charters. UK polls signal fractures. Starmer's national interest defense crumbling under expat fears and anti-war marches in Trafalgar Square. Pause for impact. Imagine the stakes. 89 million Iranians offline, Gulf economies teetering, global markets convulsing. Will Pezeshkian's pause hold, forcing Trump to blink? Or does a single hotline fizzle ignite day 10's inferno? Experts like Brookings' Suzanne Maloney warn, de-escalation windows slam shut fast. Miss this, and we're in for months of attrition. Atlantic Council echoes, proxy restraint is key, but Khamenei's void breeds chaos. On screen, split screens of leaders' faces, tension maps linking capitals, approval trackers plunging. Tehran's defiance masks desperation, barrels empty, resolve iron, but the dance continues one misstep from catastrophe. Stay tuned as envoys fly in. Diplomacy's our last frail hope. Ladies and gentlemen, as the dust settles momentarily on day 9 of this Iran inferno, let's widen the lens beyond Tehran's burning skyline to the shadowy undercurrents threatening to drag the world into a full-spectrum cataclysm. Proxies, those undeniable daggers of Iranian influence, are simmering but not silenced. The Houthis in Yemen, once relentless ship hunters in the Red Sea, have gone eerily quiet, their last barrage fizzling amid Riyadh's back-channel threats and U.S. tomahawks circling. Hamas, pinned in Gaza's ruins after October's hangover, licks wounds while Iranian supply lines choke under Israeli interdictions. Iraqi Shiite militias murmur restraint per Baghdad's fragile neutrality, but Kataib Hezbollah drones buzz U.S. bases in Syria, probing for weakness. These aren't dormant, they're coiled springs ready to uncoil if Pezeshkian signals or Trump overreaches. Iran's missile arsenal, down to roughly 1,000 ballistic beasts, dispersed in desert bunkers, mountain redoubts, and urban shadows, still deadly as hypersonic Fajr 3s that could lace Tel Aviv or Bahrain in minutes. U.S.-Israeli dominance rules the skies and seas. F-35s own the air. Carrier groups like the Eisenhower and now Bush project overwhelming firepower, sinking 43 Iranian hulls and blinding radars. Ground ops, unlikely without a casus belli like a mass casualty strike. Pentagon planners eye 500,000 boots as quagmire math, echoing Iraq 2003's $2 trillion tomb. But risks cascade. Cyber blitzes from Tehran's APT-33 hackers could black out New York grids or spoof GPS over Europe. Proxy surges might ignite Beirut or Sana'a anew. Hormuz minefields, thousands sown overnight, threaten 20% of global oil, turning supertankers into fiery reefs. Previous. AI simulations, those cold oracle runs from Rand and Brookings, split the crystal ball. Coalition wins short-term, degrading 90% of Iran's launchers in weeks. But quagmire drains Treasury, 50 by month, and public will, birthing a hydra of jihadi recruits and $200 oil. Economics hemorrhage in real time. Brent crude vaults to 152 barrel. Dow plunges 8% in a week. S&P red at 6%, rebooting 2022's inflation beast as supply chains snap. Asia's factories stall. Toyota idles Japan lines. Shenzhen ports ghost town quiet from Colombo docks to Singapore straits. Europe rations. Germany flips to coal. Paris pumps Q for hours. Blackouts flicker from Bilbao to Berlin as Gazprom grins. Pakistan feels it raw. Refugee swells from Iran border. Rice triples. Rupee craters. Your region pulses with fallout. Karachi fuel riots loom if Hormuz stays pinched. Future forks demand scrutiny. De-escalation hinges on Pezeshkian enduring. His defiance glues regime shards post-Khamenei, but suffocating blackout and 1,300-plus graves brew street revolts, echoing 2022's Masa Amini firestorm. Regime implosion, strikes on oil fields, Abadan aflame, and leadership voids could topple mullahs by April, birthing chaos or caliphate dreams. Trump vows harder blows. B-2s with bunker busters queued, cyber ops greenlit, escalating to decision point. Watch list. School probe verdict, U.S. munition confirmation. Gulf reactions, UAE rearm or reconcile. Evacuation tallies, 4,000 stranded Yanks airlifted or abandoned. From Colombo's idle cranes to Paris's gasping pumps, this war knows zero borders. Global GDP shave of 2 to 3% by Q2 per IMF whispers. Graphs lighting up now. Oil surge rockets to $152. Market plunge chasms, Dow 2,500 PTs. Proxy activity trackers blinking amber across Yemen, Iraq, Lebanon. Expert clip, CSIS's John Hoffman warns, Hormuz closure, Sork recession bullet, proxies are the wild card. This isn't a regional rumble, it's a civilizational stress test. One Houthi mine, one cyber spike, and day 10 dawns wider. Hold tight. And so day 9 of the Iran war closes not with triumph or truce, but raw, throbbing peril. A tableau of unanswered horrors demanding your attention. The probe Bombshell looms largest. If U.S. munitions indeed vaporize that Menab school, 160-plus kids amid playground rubble, does America own a war crime fracturing the coalition's moral high ground? Human Rights Watch's gavel falls hard. Pentagon probes race the clock. Will findings halt B-52 runs or rally Tehran's resolve into suicide pact? De-escalation's fragile thread, Pezeshkian's neighbor truce, holds by spider silk. One errant drone over Dubai and Gulf floodgates reopen. Over 2,300 graves yawn across the region, 940 plus in Iran, 11 Israel, 217 Lebanon, hundreds Gulf, each a silent scream for sanity. Families clutch photos in Tehran alleys, Tel Aviv vigils flicker, Beirut buries beneath rubble. Thousands of stranded Americans pray amid Doha's sirens. C-17s groan overloaded, but 3,000 plus linger in kill zones. Trump's America First evac critique boiling over. The world holds its collective breath. 89 million Iranians in blackout void, oil at $152 strangling economies, proxies twitching for orders.